UFC 308 Topuria vs. Holloway is this weekend in Abu Dhabi, and I'm here to go over all of my picks for every fight on the card. Let's get started right away with a new fight lineup here. I think Saeed Nurmagomedov's fight is going to be booted off because Daniel Santos had to pull out. So they seem to have replaced that with Rinat Fakhretdinov and Carlos Leal, or Leal, whatever you want to say. We're going to get to that, though. We're going to start with the first fight here. These might be out of order, but this is how Tapology has this is why we're going to do it. Bruno Silva and Ismail Naurdiev. So yeah, Saeed hasn't fought in like fucking a year now. So anyway, Bruno Silva, coming off the double eye poke loss to Chris Weidman, lost to Shara Magomedov by decision. Looked decent in that fight. Looked decent against Chris Weidman as well. I think he was doing pretty well against him. And a submission to Brendan Allen. Ismail Naurdiev, this is his UFC debut. He doesn't have a great history, and somehow he won his last fight by submission. That was almost a year ago, back in December of 2023. Somehow he's a favorite here. I don't really understand how anyone would have him a favorite here, given both their histories. I mean, yeah, Silva's on a 3-fight losing streak, but he's at least fought a lot better competition and shit. I don't know. I don't really understand that, but I'm gonna go Bruno Silva. I'm gonna take Bruno Silva by decision here. Um, Fought way better competition, more active recently, and he's like 7 years older, but I just feel like at middleweight that probably doesn't even matter. I just think he's gonna be better. So not sure why Naurdiev, whatever the hell his name is, a favorite. I'm gonna go Bruno Silva by decision. Second fight on the card: Ibo Aslan and Rafael Cerqueira. I don't even know. Rafael's making his UFC debut. Ibo Aslan coming off a KO win over Anton Turkalj, third round KO here a couple months ago, back in March. So kind of seems like a lap for him. Looks like he's trained at Extreme Couture as well. I like these trained at Extreme Couture. Rafael's making his debut. Ibo's only a slight favorite here. I like it just because he's like 100% finish rate by knockout. That seems like a pretty good pick here. And Rafael is making his UFC debut coming off of 3 KOs in a row on the regional scene and only has one decision out of 11 fights. So somebody's getting finished here. It's going to be a good fight regardless. I'm going to take Aslan by KO. The jiu-jitsu of Cerqueira could be an issue here if it goes to the ground, but I'm going to imagine that's going to be a pretty quick finish here, I think. I think they're just going to go at it. I'm going to take Aslan by first round KO. If it goes past the first round, maybe it'll get more interesting, but I'm going to take him here by KO. Moving up to the most recent fight added to the card, Rinat Fakhretdinov and Carlos Leal. I thought I remember this dude. He was on PFL last year in 2023. He's making his UFC debut. Short notice layup here for Rinat. He's had a solid 4 wins in the UFC, but barely won a split decision in Nicholas Dalby in his last fight in June, which is not a good look. So I'm sure he's going to be looking to dominate here, especially a debut guy coming in from the PFL. Leal's last fight was last loss was to Sadabusi in 2023 in the PFL. He's won twice by first round KO since then in the regional scene. Seems like he's going to be coming out swinging. I imagine that Renat's probably going to drop him quick and get him by sub, probably similar to the Kevin Lee fight. I'm going to imagine that he's going to get a first round sub. Could be knockout, could be sub. I'm going to say he drops him and then subs him in the first round. Should be a good fight, though. Leal's got nothing to lose, so I'm sure they're just going to go for it. Moving up to the next fight, Farid Basharat and Victor Hugo. This is where I might slow down a little bit because Basharat's a bit of a decision machine, but he is undefeated in the UFC. So far, only one finish in 4 fights, counting the Contender Series with a sub over Clayton Rodriguez, and only one KO to his name, so not much of a finishing threat here. Hugo got a submission on the Contender Series and got a unanimous decision in his debut against Pedro Falcao. He's got more experience and finishing potential, does Hugo, but Basharat's also been Extreme Couture. I think he's just going to make this one boring enough and get a decision out. I don't think he's going to be anything spectacular. I'm going to take Basharat. I also don't think he should be a heavy favorite. I think Victor Hugo has a decent chance of finishing here, but we haven't seen it against Basharat. We did see it against his brother though, right? So it's possible. It's possible. Victor Hugo by finish here might not be a bad pick, but I'm going to take Basharat by a boring ass decision. Going to slow down the card going into this battle of the masses. Kennedy Nzechukwu and Chris Barnett. Look at that grimacing motherfucker, dude. Uh, yeah, Kennedy's coming up to heavyweight here after being at light heavyweight since 2019, and he gets Chris Barnett, who has not fought in over 2 years and struggles to make heavyweight. I mean, look at those tits. Um, I think Kennedy's going to get it done here unless Barnett somehow gets on top of him and mount and just like weighs on him. I don't even know what I guess you could call it ground and pound if that's what you want to call it. I'm gonna say second round TKO for Kennedy here. Not much to say. Chris Barnett's probably gonna gas out in the first round. Light heavyweight striking and just the athletes are just gonna be better than some fat heavyweight that Chris Barnett is. So I'm gonna take Kennedy by second round KO. Heavy favorite here. Coming off 2 losses, but going up to heavyweight, I don't think it's gonna make a difference. He's pretty big too. He's not gonna. He's still 6'5" and little gremlin fucking Chris Barnett's 5'9", 265, barely makes the weight. So I don't know how this dude's still in the UFC. I'm going to take Kennedy Nzechukwu, second round KO. I think Chris Barnett will just spin his way out of round 1, and then we'll get to round 2, and that'll be it. He'll gas out and pass out and get a fucking cheeseburger. Anyway, moving up the card. Abbas Magomedov and Bruno Ferreira. This should be a fucking good fight, man. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm going to go Ferreira just because he's 100% finish rate and almost all in the first round. I think this is going to be a fucking banger, but I don't think Abus is going to get him quick enough. I mean, we saw Magomedov go after Strickland in the first round there and almost get a finish. Well, not really almost get a finish, but he was trying to finish in the first round. He always, for the most part, tries to finish in the first round. I think he's going to gas out. I think Bruno's a better finisher in the first round specifically, and if he does try to do that against a guy like this, he'll probably end up getting himself hurt. Seems like he can get hurt to the body, and I mean, we saw Strickland break him in, 2-3 rounds, so I'm going to take Ferreira here by first round knockout. I think he keeps the trend up and keeps it going. Abbas has been kind of up and down. I mean, sometimes he look good, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. I think he's gonna be shit here. I think Bruno's got a lot of momentum here, coming off of like fucking a million knockouts in a row. So we're gonna go Bruno Ferreira, first round knockout. Hopefully something interesting happens. They don't just both gas in the first and then look like shit for 2 rounds. Anyway, moving up the card, Myktybek Orolbai and Mateusz Rebecki. Jesus Christ, my God, the names here. Ugh. Oh, look at this caveman, dude. It's actually crazy to even just look at this. Anyway, um, tough one to pick, honestly. The odds are saying pretty heavy favor for Orolbai. Rebecki's good, man. He only got his first loss in his last fight, a late third round KO to Diego Ferreira. His first loss in 10 years. I think Orolbai's going to have a slight edge here. I just think Rebecki's going to be really motivated to come in and get his get back. You know what I mean? Get back in the win column. I think he's a decent underdog here. I wouldn't mind him as an underdog, but I think they're just going to be scrapping it. I'm going to take Orolbai second round KO. That's a tough pick, though. I do like Rebecki in this one. I'm not very confident on this pick, even given the odds. That doesn't really say much to me most times, but specifically not now because a lot of the fights on this are very heavily favored one side where it kind of doesn't seem like it should be. But I like Rebecki here as an underdog, but I'm going to take Orolbai, 6 years younger, on the win streak, got the momentum at relatively his home fight. I mean, Rebecki's from Poland, so it's not terrible, but mostly his home fight for Orolbai. Going to have the home crowd, even though they don't cheer for shit. Fucking boring-ass crowd, but I'll take Orolbai second round KO. Moving up the card, another good fight here. Geoff Neal versus Rafael dos Anjos. Pretty easy pick, though. I'm going to go Geoff Neal by third round ground and pound KO. Yeah, he's coming off 2 losses against Ian Gary and Shavkat. Looked really good in both of those fights. Split decision against Gary and Shavkat. He was doing really well and ended up getting caught in a weird standing sub like in the third round. So I like him coming into this. Dos Anjos is just kind of you know what I mean? Like his last win was like a sub over like fucking what's his name? Brian Barberena, right? Yeah, I mean he subbed Brian Barberena 2 years ago and then lost to Vicente Luque, who quit in his last fight or last like 2 fights, and then Mateusz Gamrot, which isn't a bad loss, but still, dude. I mean, he ain't got much left. 39 years old. Geoff Neal, whatever, 34. He's just been looking better, man. He's been looking like he's trying to go for finishes too. Rafael, not so much. I'm gonna go Geoff Neal, third round KO. Moving up the card, this one's gonna be. This is the first fight on the main card, and also gonna be probably an unpopular pick here. But I'm gonna go Armen Petrosian here. Shara Magomedov versus Armen Petrosian. I'm going Petrosian. The odds are saying slight underdog, so I guess it's not too crazy of a pick here. But I'm gonna go Petrosian by decision. Shar just hasn't really impressed me that much, man. He's got the recent win over Mikhail Olachejek, Anton Turkalj, KO, and then the decision to Bruno Silva. I just wasn't super impressed. Armen's coming off of a sub to Rodolfo Vieira, which, I mean, that's not like the worst thing ever. I like the wins over CLD and AJ Dobson more than Shar's wins so far. 3-year age advantage, that's not really saying much. I feel like Petrosian's probably just the underdog here because of the home fight for Shara and the hype, but I like Petrosian here. I think he's going to take him to the decision. I like the decisions over CLD and AJ Dobson. I think he'll do the same thing here and eke out a decision, even though the judges might not make it out alive if he does. But I think that's what's going to happen here. I'm going to take Petrosian by decision. Moving up to another great fight, Magomed Ankalaev and Alexander Rakic. I'm going to be straight up, okay? I'm only picking this, and I'm going against the odds and going against what makes sense because I really just don't want to see Ankalaev versus Ferreira. I'd really rather not see that. I don't know. I guess it would be fun if Pereira knocked him out, but I don't need. I really don't want to see Ankalaev as the champion. Just annoys me, inactive and then bitching about this and that, and he wants everything on his terms, and he's only gonna fight if he's fucking champion. He's gonna fight once a year when it's in Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia. It's just gonna be the same old fucking shit, bro. I don't want to see that shit. I'm going Rakic first round KO. Knock this fucking freak out. Yeah, fuck him, dude. Rakic coming off 2 terrible KOs. Not great, Not great to be coming in off KOs to Jan Blachowicz and Yuri Prochazka. But he had moments in those fights, man, especially against Yuri. I guess Jan, he actually hurt his knee, right? That was a doctor stoppage technically. Well, not really. It was still a KO, but you know what I mean. Prochazka, though, he looked good in the first round. He was getting the better of Yuri, I feel like, for most of the first round, maybe until towards the end, but obviously ended up getting knocked out. He has just kind of just that style where he's just going to go forward and eat punches, and I think he'll eat a lot of Ankalaev's shots. I mean, Ankalaev knocked out Johnny Walker. That says nothing. Knocked out Anthony Smith. That says fucking nothing. And then Iwan Cutelaba twice. The first one was, questionable, and then he knocked him out in the second fight. Also not saying much. Marcin Prashnio, not saying much. So I think someone's getting finished here one way or the other, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to see either way. I'm going to take Rakic first round KO. I think he gets the better of him. I think if he gets past the first round, it's going to go more in the favor of Ankalaev the longer it goes. But fuck him. I'm taking Rakic first round KO. Let's move up the card to this fight. I don't know why this one ended up on this card. I don't know how how Lerone Murphy or Darren Ige have anything to do with this region, but I'll take it. It should be a good fight. Yeah, Lerone Murphy and Dan Ige. Murphy's coming off a dominant performance in 5 rounds over Edson Barbosa, who's been looking good before that. Dan Ige coming off his last-second fill-in loss over Diego Lopez in June. Should be a great fight either way. I think Ige has the higher finishing potential here, but Murphy seems like he's been more technical and maybe better at point fighting over the course of the distance. I'm going to take Murphy by decision here. It's hard to go against him given the perfect record and the recent performances, but Dan Ige is definitely not a bad underdog pick here. He's only a slight underdog at plus 165. This should be a very close fight, but I think it'll be Lerone Murphy 2-1. Maybe he wins the first, Dan Ige comes back in the second, and then maybe he takes him down in the third or something. I don't know. I think Murphy will edge him out in the decision here. Moving up to the co-main event of the evening, Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev. I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I mean? When they're actually in the cage, I'll fucking believe it, okay? Really tough pick for me here, obviously. There's a lot of really good close fights on this card. Whittaker's looked good in his last 2 fights, and in general, he's very consistent, while Chimaev, on the other hand, almost lost to a last-second replacement in Kamaru Usman, who had to go up a weight class and fly halfway across the world. That makes this even harder of a pick because I mean, some people even thought Chimaev lost. I'd have to rewatch it again, man. But all I know is when I was watching that, I was like, this is not a good look for him, man. Obviously, he came out and dominated the first round just by physicality and using all of his energy, essentially. But not a good look for him. And I feel like Chimaev, that's not a good look for him. And I feel like Whittaker was not a good look for him. Is the DDP loss? Chimaev at times can have kind of a similar style and will not necessarily blitz forward like DDP and kind of just swing wild, but will try to mount follow up pressure and might have a similar ending that DDP fight had. I don't know how to pick this. This is so 50-50 to me. This would really go either way. I think it's going to be Whittaker by decision or Chimaev maybe by like a late finish. I have no idea. I really think this is going to go similar to Chimaev versus Usman. I think Chimaev's going to dominate round 1 with his physicality, but he's going to have a lot harder time against Whittaker, who's an actual middleweight and not Kamaru Usman with his old fucking knees, old rickety knees. Really tough to pick. I even this now, I have written down who I want to pick and everything. I still don't know who I want to pick here. I just feel like based on momentum, it has to be Whittaker, but based on what my brain's telling me, it's got to be Chimaev. I think either way, it's going to go to a decision here. unless Whittaker just gets caught with something early. I'm going to take Chimaev by decision. I don't think that they even have a chance to rob him here. They know that this is their guy. They got to get this guy to a title shot, and this is the only way to do it right now. We've been waiting for this fight. I really don't feel confident in the pick, but I'm going to take Chimaev by decision here. 2-1. I don't know. Maybe he gets a 10-8 in round 1, and then I just think I don't know. I don't know. Just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy the fight. Fuck the picks. Enjoy the fight. It's going to be a great fight regardless. So is this next one. The main event of the evening, Ilia Topuria and Ilio Aptoro Top Toro versus Max Holloway. Jerome. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. Toss a coin. I don't know, okay? I don't know. Another really tough pick here. Holloway seems to have hit his second prime and is only 32 years old, coming off of 2 amazing KO wins over the Korean Zombie and the last-second buzzer beater against Justin Gaethje. Probably knockout of the year. The difference here is Zombie was swinging for a KO2. He knew that was his last fight. He was trying to leave it all out there, and that he did. And Gaethje did the same thing, man. They were going back and forth the whole fight, and Gaethje got caught with literally 1 second left, just swinging and not even looking at what was coming back his way. I think if this goes the distance, which I believe it will, Ilia's technical boxing will probably score him more points. I also think Top Toro's has higher finishing potential here, and he's probably more willing to mix in some ground game. Topuria started off his pro career on the regional scene with 7 straight subs and got his 8th against Bryce Mitchell. I imagine if he doesn't have early success and doesn't feel like he's going to be able to take Holloway on the feet the whole time, I think he'll mix in some ground game, and I ultimately see him outscoring Holloway over 5 rounds. I hate picking this. Both scenarios of these guys winning a decision either way is very realistic. It's honestly 50-50 to me, just like the last fight. It just seems like Top Toro's too unbeatable right now. It just seems like he's just got too much momentum on his side. Holloway's got that for him as well, man. He's mounted that momentum these last 2 fights, and I mean, really, the only losses in any recent time were Alexander Volkanovski 3 times, and then Dustin Poirier back in 2019. So, God, dude, I don't know. I really don't know. Jerome's got the pedigree, man. He's got the history. He's got the experience. You know, this isn't going to be a big deal for him. He's got the momentum too, man. 2 KO wins in a row over 2. Well, I guess Jung was old and Gaethje got caught with 1 second, but they're still good wins. He would have won either fight regardless. Ilya, on the other hand, a really nasty knockout over an already vulnerable Volkanovski, to be fair, in the second round. Decision over Josh Emmett. That's a great look for him, too. Shows his chin. Shows that he's probably not going to get knocked down or knocked out by Holloway here. I don't see that happening. The sub over Bryce Mitchell, again, just kind of shows his diversity. KOs over Jai Herbert, Ryan Hall, and Damon Jackson to start off his UFC run pretty much. I mean, he's got it all. He's looked really good. He looks like he has every facet of MMA covered. He's younger. He's got the momentum. He's undefeated. I can't pick against that right now. I'm going to go Ilia Topuria by decision. I think it'll go the distance here. Holloway hasn't been knocked out, right, man? So, like, how are we going to get... I can't say he's going to knock him out. I mean... Volk wasn't really knocked out before that, but he also got knocked out by Islam a couple months before. So it's like... I just think Ilya's got higher finishing potential. I think if anybody's going to get finished, it's going to be Holloway, either by sub or by knockout. I don't see Ilya getting finished here. And then other than that, if Holloway's not the one doing the finishing, I can't see him outscoring over 5 rounds and not getting finished somehow. Or I just don't see it. So I'm going to go Topuria by decision. Let me know what you think down in the comments. A lot of tough fights to pick here. I have no idea. Should be a really fucking good card, though. I'm really looking forward to it after this absolute fucking shitters they gave us the last 2 weeks. Fucking put me to sleep 2 weeks in a row. But that's okay. We're going to rectify it this week. Hopefully this region of fighters doesn't get really boring again and we don't see a lot of nut hugging. It seems like these matchups are going to be very good, very close, and a lot of finishing potential. So it should be a great card. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. I'll be back after the card with a recap and any other UFC news that comes up. Peace.